ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we'll be talking about Mike Brown, Ferguson, Iggy Azalea, and a whole lot more. Cool Radio starts right now.
It's your man, Chris Godrock.
What's up, my family? It's Maliki and Sweet Senorita.
It's your boy, Dirty Germa. This is All Mails from the Critics. I just finished my interview at Cool Radio, and I'm just letting you guys know that you guys need to tune in every Thursday at 8 p.m. because this place is wild.
Of course! Don't touch that dial.
You miss your disc, you understand? You locked.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're not tuned into CFRE 91.9 FM. It's your man, GM Cool. You're now tuned into Cool Radio.
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody.
That's right. Tell a friend because we are reporting live from the airways of UTM right now. And you already know it's about to go down in a very major way indeed. Like I said at the top of the show, we have a lot, and I mean a lot to discuss. We already know what's happening with the Mike Brown situation in Ferguson. So we're definitely going to take some time throughout, I'd say, half of the show to discuss that. We also have coming on the show, Common's remarks towards Chief Keef, C.O.O.L and his new album coming out this December, and Beyonce's new video. We got all that covered tonight. But before we do that, I got some stuff to get off my chest. You already know how I do on a weekly basis. I call this one Let That Ish Breathe. So let's drop that real quick.
Let this bitch breathe.
Definitely got some stuff to get off my chest, man. First off, I got to say shout outs to the Toronto Raptors, actually. The NBA leading Toronto Raptors, who have the best record in the entire NBA at 13-2. You already know how the Raptors do. We the North. Funny thing, I like how there are some people who are saying how that the Raptors are getting lucky right now because they have an easy schedule, yada, 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 all this stuff. And I just have something to say to the haters, all right? Yes, we may be having a good schedule, but A, we're taking advantage of that good schedule like every good team is supposed to do. And B, if we weren't taking advantage of that schedule, then people would still be saying how whack the Raptors are and how they're not producing. So what do you want? Do you want to see results or do you not want to see results? So that's all I got to say to the people outside who are hating. And I'm noticing that it's mostly coming from like the American media. And of course it's coming from the American media because they're biased towards anything that's Canadian related because they only care about themselves. And this is no different. I mean, ESPN, probably like the biggest sports network in the world, arguably, is not even talking about the Raptors, despite the fact that they have the best record overall. One of the shows that I like to watch on a regular is called ESPN First Take, and I love that show, but I've yet to hear either one of the hosts discuss the Raptors, even though they're the best team in the league right now, record-wise. Instead, they're talking about how Kobe is struggling, how LeBron can't lead his team, how the Knicks are still whack. They're basically talking about all the big market teams who aren't doing as good as they thought they would, and I don't understand how that's newsworthy. Who wants to hear about a bunch of losers? All right, let's talk about winners. All right, let's talk about how the Raptors have the best start in franchise history. Let's talk about how they're the only Canadian team in the league and they just happen to have the best record in the league. Let's talk about how Lou Williams is killing it off the bench for them and was also the player of the week in the Eastern Conference. How about we talk about that? But no, Americans want to kind of stick to their own thing. But you know what? That's okay because that's what the whole We the North movement is all about. And the best quote within that whole speech was, we're not on the outside looking in. We're on the outside looking within. So we don't need that praise. We don't need that validation from the people down south. It's up to them to catch up and figure out what's happening. All right? That's all I got to say about that. Another thing that's kind of on my mind right now. A couple weeks ago, I talked about like the wave of like ratchet soul music or what have you. So I came up with like a little hypothesis, a little theory, if you will. This whole wave of guys like T-Pain and Future kind of singing on like trap beats and stuff like that. I finally figured out where it came from. All right, you guys probably are gonna look at me like I'm clueless or something like that, but there is a method to my madness. So hear me out. Ratchet and soul music, 2 Chainz and Future and T-Pain, Ty Dolla $ign, all those dudes, it came from Sierra. It came from Sierra. Think about it. Back in 2004 when she debuted as a new artist, her thing was she was the queen of crunk and B, so crunk and blues. And everyone knows how crunk was popular back in the day. Lil Jon, the East Side Boys. You know, I'm not even going to get into the rest of the names, but we already know how crunk music was played in the clubs, it was played on radio everywhere. Everyone was getting to it, all right? And then crunk kind of faded into snap your finger music, and then that kind of faded into trap music, basically, as far as like the sounds and the beats and everything. And that's primarily what Sierra sung on, or sung over rather, especially when it came to like the big singles. You know, and since her, you've seen, you know, quite a bit of a wave of other artists kind of follow that pattern as well too. I'm not saying Sierra started that shit on purpose, but there's definitely, you know, a trend that had gone on between 2004 up until now. And ironically enough, her baby's father is none other than Future. So who thought anyone would have predicted that? That's just my little take on that. But don't mind me. I'm just a radio host. Anyways, that's all I got to say for now. But we got to play, you know, some tunes to get into the commercial break. When we come back, I will get into this Ferguson discussion because there's a lot of BS that has happened since the decision not to indict Darren Wilson. And trust me, I got a mouthful to say about that. I've been keeping quiet for the past week for the most part, but definitely this is where I'm going to break my silence. And I'm going to encourage you guys to get a part of the discussion if you would like to on Twitter. Hit me up at @cool_radio or DM_cool, whichever one you prefer. And then throw some ideas, some questions my way, and I'll definitely air them out on the air for you, all right? But once again, got to get some tunes right now. And this tune comes by way of my boy Crossword, all right? He's a member of the group called Vibonics, and he's got his own solo material that he's about to push out right now. This single is called What You Want to Do, so keep it locked. We'll be right back after these messages. This is Cool Radio. Yeah. Welcome to the show, people. You're now tuned to CFRE 91.9 FM. It's your man, GM Cool. You're now tuned into Cool Radio. Welcome back to the show, people. Now, as I told y'all before the break, at the 8:15 mark, we will be getting into this Mike Brown discussion. And without further ado, let's get into it. This segment of the show, this rare segment of the show, I like to call Numbers on the Board. We talk about the most popular topics happening on social media, and obviously this one is no exception. This one has just been taking over the whole World Wide Web for about a week now, so I figured that it's only right that we get into it. Let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on the whole matter. Hit me up either at DM_cool or cool_radio, and trust me, I will be tuning into your tweets if you feel free to do so. Let's just get into it, man. Let's just take a step back to the whole situation that occurred way back in August. All right, so you have this young guy by the name of Mike Brown, goes into a convenience store, kind of gives the clerk a hard time and what have you, and then leaves. Someone reports it, obviously, and then that's when the situation occurs where he's confronted rather by Officer Darren Wilson. A lot of people have different accounts as to what happened, but for the most part, the most consistent thing that we've heard so far is that he was about 40 feet away when Wilson gunned him down in 6 shots with his hands up. That's what we've known about the story thus far. All right. Now, a lot of people have been saying, "Oh, well, this Mike Brown kid, he wasn't a good kid. I mean, he was roughing up a convenience store clerk. I mean, he wasn't no angel." Yes, you know, that may have been the case, but that doesn't warrant anyone of any kind to be shot 6 times repeatedly just because you're being a dick towards the guy who works at a convenience store. Like, that's not justifiable. And for people to use that as a justifiable excuse to pardon what Darren Wilson did, it's not feasible. It's not feasible. So I'm not even buying that. So basically, we have all come to know that that is what happened. Of that situation. So the public outcry, you know, it was nothing short of, you know, monumental, so to speak, in terms of the people who came out to reach out to at what happened as far as the shooting went. So people were protesting in droves peacefully at first. You know, people had their hands up. There were picket signs all across the board, whether it be in St. Louis or Atlanta. Everyone was protesting all across America because of the injustice at what happened. Now, never mind the fact that it was a black teen who got shot. It was just a teen who got shot by the police, all right? I mean, of course, the first thing that pops out is race, because this is not the first time that we've had an unarmed black male be shot in cold blood by quote unquote an enforcer of the law, which we will get into later on. But nonetheless, a lot of people came out to lend their support as far as the community goes, and basically people wanted to take their stance on it, including celebrities as well too. Actors, entertainers, musicians, people took their take on what was happening in Ferguson, Missouri, because they thought it was unjust. And this is very reminiscent of what happened with Trayvon Martin not too long ago, actually. We're talking about at least a year ago that this happened with Trayvon, and the public outcry was just as big. Now, once it was announced that he would not be indicted, which was this past Monday, that's when basically all hell broke loose. Now, I want everyone to put into perspective that even though the riots did occur, as we saw on CNN, MSNBC, and all these other news outlets, let us keep in mind that not all the protests were violence, okay? There's a few people here and there in comparison to the majority of people who are keeping their protests peaceful that were being violent, all right? It's just that because violence and ignorance happens to get more ratings and attention and it's more buzzworthy, that was profiled a lot more, and that the people who are peacefully protesting with their hands up and what have you, those ones were grabbing attention. Now, let me talk about the people who are protesting violently, all right? Now, this is one thing that I can't stand, especially when it comes to Black America. I hate it when, an injustice of this magnitude happens and people feel the need to protest violently, whether it's throwing Molotov cocktails, whether it's burning businesses down, whether it's looting, anything that's against the law. They want to uphold that type of behavior as much as possible to quote unquote get their point out, which I think is counterproductive, because at the end of the day, you have to think of it like this. In terms of the Black community in this situation, the powers that be want you to act ignorant. They want you to act uncouth when a situation like Mike Brown happens. Because when that does happen, and when they do see you acting in an abrasive manner, they're going to point to you guys and say, so you see, I knew you guys were like that. I knew you guys were all like that, always being violent. That's what they want you to do. And it's a shame that some people in the community fell into that trap yet again. I mean, this is no different with Rodney King 20 years ago when he got beat and those officers were acquitted with all charges. That's what they want you to do. The powers that be want you to do that. And so I can understand the anger and the outrage, but why take your anger out on your own community that the law is abusing in the terms of not, taking the full extent of the law to this person who killed another person in cold blood? Because obviously we all know that there are some police officers who like to exercise their power in a negative manner. We all know this. We're not strangers to this. This is no secret. This has been happening for however many years now. Okay, so let's visit the Darren Wilson side of the story. Now, I caught this side of the story a couple of days ago on Tuesday, and a lot of the things that he was saying within his testimony on NBC with Stephen, I can't remember, what was it, George Stephanopoulos or something like that? Yeah. He was talking to him, and he was giving his take of the story, and his take of the story is completely contradictory of what the majority of witnesses were saying as far as what happened. So Darren's side of the story is that he wasn't even chasing down an assailant, which was Mike Brown, following the incident that happened in the convenience store. He was on his lunch break, apparently. This is what he was saying. I'm paraphrasing, mind you, but nonetheless, go to ABC. This is exactly what he said, or roughly what he said, rather. And he said how he was trying to open his police cruiser door as Mike Brown was walking close to it, and Brown closed it on him, which created the initial altercation in the first place. And then afterwards, he proceeded to get out of his car and had somewhat of a fight with Mike Brown, which is apparently where the contusions came on his face. Now, mind you, I saw the pictures of his face. There are a couple parts of his face here and there which were a bit red, but I highly doubt that was from any altercation whatsoever. I mean, mind you, I wasn't there, but I sincerely doubt that was the case because, first of all, the Midwest is a very warm region of the United States of America. And I'm not sure how this man's skin is treated in regards to sunlight, but the man's pasty as hell. So this guy's turning colors either way, no doubt. Now, continuing on with his account, he was wrestling and tussling with Mike Brown. And as he was describing this to the interviewer on ABC, he was saying how Mike Brown was such an overbearing and overpowering force of a man that he compared himself to a 5-year-old wrestling Hulk Hogan. Now, I find this utterly ridiculous because Darren Wilson, the man himself, the police officer, he is about 6'2", 215 pounds. If you see this man, you would swear that this guy is like an NFL rookie, or he could be a goalie in the NHL. He's a pretty stout individual. He's not no Steve Urkel Poindexter with the frame of a skeleton. He is no bag of bones by any word of the imagination. This man is actually a big guy. Now, mind you, I know Mike Brown is about 290 himself, which he's a pretty hefty boy. But to say that he felt like a 5-year-old wrestling Hulk Hogan is a bit of a stretch, to say the least. I mean, you're talking about someone who hasn't even developed muscles yet, comparing that to a wrestler who was basically on steroids during the prime of his career. So I have no idea why he would make that type of a comparison. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So it just makes the story that much more laughable. It just makes it sound as if he's contradicting what was already originally said in the first place. So right there, I don't believe him, because it really sounds like he's trying to cover his ass as far as him being in the wrong, shooting an unarmed teen. That's what it comes down to. And the whole baffling part of that interview was that the interviewer wasn't asking him the tough questions. This guy was basically kind of giving him a pass, just letting him tell his side of the story, which for the most part sounds like absolute bullshit. So that, it just boggles my mind. And also, during the description of his account with Mike Brown, he was saying how he had the look of a demon in his eyes. Obviously, the guy's going to look angry if you're fighting him. He's not going to have a happy-go-lucky face like he's a freaking Care Bear ready to hug you. You're basically fighting him. You shot him. Of course, he's going to have a crazed look in his eyes. Also, he was saying how he was digging into his pockets or into his pants, and it looked as if he was pulling out something. But when all accounts were all said and done, the man, Mike Brown, was unarmed. So how could he be reaching for something if he was unarmed in the first place? Maybe he was reaching down to the bullet wound that was recently made by the guy who just shot him. Maybe that's what that guy should have taken into account. So anyways, his whole interview was filled with so much holes, so much inconsistency, so much contradictions that it was pretty much disrespectful, especially if you were a family or a friend of Mike Brown during that entire ordeal. So that's the main thing that a lot of people had issue with, apart from the fact that it was yet another killing within the black community in America over nothing, basically. And my take on the officer not being indicted, I mean, first of all, I'm not surprised, because this is like the umpteenth time that an unarmed black male, especially like a black teen in this situation, was brutally murdered, basically. I mean, I think the first public case of this was Emmett Till back in 1944, when he was mutilated by two white men by whistling at a white girl. All right, that was probably the first highly publicized moment or incident of unjust onto black males. And then you go on into the rest of history's accounts. I mean, you go into the cases of Rodney King. You go into Oscar Grant, who was shot in Oakland by a police officer while he was down on the ground with the palm of his hands onto the ground. You also have the unfortunate shooting of Sean Bell, who was just coming back from a bachelor party and was shot 50 times by police officers who claimed that he had a gun on him. All right. And then, of course, the latest incident before Mike Brown was Trayvon Martin, who was brutally shot by someone who was in the neighborhood watch because of the fact that he was wearing a hoodie. All he had in his hands were iced tea and Skittles, yet they were making the judgment that he, in fact, was carrying something. And I think the most disrespectful part about this all is the fact that the coroners did an autopsy on Mike Brown's body to search for any drug contents within his blood, as if to say that he was under the influence or he was intoxicated that made him attack the police officer. It's almost as if they're trying to paint this police officer like he was some sort of a hero for standing up to the big bad black bully of America, which is just absolutely ridiculous, because who in their right mind is going to try and fight a police officer? First of all, they're the police, so they're always going to be in the right. And to add insult to injury, they're equipped with weapons. So who in their right mind is going to do that? It's just the inconsistencies of the story that has me a bit upset. I'm not surprised, but at the same time, that's not going to stop me from being upset that yet another black male is gunned down in America. But not even just the black male. It's just the fact that an innocent citizen is gunned down. And yes, a lot of people are going to revert back to the fact that he was roughing up some convenience store clerk. If that's the case, then do right by the law and arrest him. Don't shoot him down. Don't brutally beat him unless if he is resisting arrest in a very violent fashion. But if that's the case, if he's just being a nuisance, towards a clerk or towards anyone in society, arrest him. Arrest him, put him in holding, do what is asked of you as an upholder of the law. Don't take the law into your own hands, be a vigilante, and kill him, thus ridding America of yet another black male or another young person in society. So one of the things that a lot of people were also upset about was the fact that Obama's statement towards the entire ordeal was, very calm, very melancholy, didn't seem enthusiastic about it. But the biggest thing that I've been hearing, especially from within the black community, is the fact that he didn't do anything about it. He's the president of the United States, ladies and gentlemen. He's not going to do anything. Yes, he has the power to do something about it, but at the end of the day, this is why America is separated in states. Every state has their own governed rules. Every state has their own laws that they abide by. Some rules have the death penalty, some don't. If he gets involved in it, he's meddling. And if he's getting involved in that, then that means he has to get involved with what's happening in Florida. He has to get involved with what's happening in Washington. He has to get involved with what's happening in California. That's going to create favoritism, and that's going to create some sort of a conflict of interest as him as a president. So either way, people are going to damn him. And let's say if he were there to do something about the Ferguson situation. If he were to do something, then obviously white conservatives are going to say, oh, see, there he is, only helping out the black people. He's so biased as a president. He's unjust. Either way, Obama's going to get shade thrown at him. So at least Obama can say that he's doing his job and saying to people, we may not like how the law is upheld, but at the end of the day, what you can do as a society is just protest peacefully. That's all he can ask of from the people of America. That's all he can do. And this isn't the first time that minorities in America have been treated unjustly. I mean, if you're going to take it back, let's take it back to the days that America was quote unquote discovered by Christopher Columbus, all right? Him and the Pilgrims came into America that was discovered by the Aboriginals, and they are the ones who put smallpox in the blankets and systematically disseminated them one after another. All right, this is textbook America. America was built on slavery. This is nothing new. This is nothing to be surprised over. America is sometimes not the home of the land of the free and the home of the brave, as some people like to paint it to be, which is a shame because they are the greatest superpower in the world right now. But we hear about these things happening over and over again. And my question is, when is this going to end? We're in 2014 and we're still going through this on a regular basis. People are being killed for no reason. Minority groups are being treated unjustly because either of the color of the skin, the culture that they're from, even the ethnicity of their names is being taken into account. America is probably the most unjust country in the world when it comes to systematic racism. If it's not blatant racism, then it's systemic racism, to the point where you won't be hired for a job because your name on the resume sounds a little too ethnic for their company, or better yet, they'll hire you for a job because HR doesn't want, because they don't want HR to be sniffling up their butts about why you don't have too many minorities. So they're just going to hire you based on the premise that you're black, that you're brown, that you're Asian, that you're Latino, just so that they can get the consensus board off of your back, just so you can say, hey, We have some minorities in our company, therefore we're not racist. So I feel like people need to take that into account when it comes to America. And overall, I feel people need to pay attention to the notion that racism is not dead. Racism is very well alive. It's just taking on a different form, and it's just manifesting itself into different methods. I hate when people say, there's no racism anymore because there's a black president running America. No, you couldn't be further from the truth, and you couldn't be more delusional. If anything, more people have shown out their racist colors since Obama has been in the White House. You know, so the fact that people still say that, it's laughable at the very least. So the one thing to take away from the situation is that racism is still alive. America has a lot of work to do. Mind you, they're not the only country in the world that has their ills, but still, for a country that promotes itself as the greatest country on earth, you guys got to get your shit together, real talk, fix the laws, and anyone that kills anyone in cold blood should be upheld to be facing the consequences to the full extent of the law. There is no reason as to why Darren Wilson didn't even see a trial. A trial. This man it wasn't even an announcement saying that this man was not guilty. It was a hearing saying that this man would not be indicted. Chris Rock said it best. This man said it didn't take 100 days for them to say he's not guilty. It took them 100 days to try and figure out how to say that he's not going to get indicted. Mind you, I'm paraphrasing his tweet, but nonetheless, that was said along the lines. So America, once again, get your shit together. We got a commercial break to get to. Coming up, we're going to get things a little more lighthearted. I got some news about C.O.O.L, some news about Common, and a whole lot more. But, just to kind of close the segment off a little bit, I got a track featuring my man Audric Rose, and this is his little dedication to the life of Mike Brown. And I think everyone needs to open up and listen to this with their hearts and their minds. This one is called Newsflash, so keep it locked. This is Cool Radio. We'll be right back after these. Yeah. That's right. Make sure y'all get that newsflash. That's what we need to hear a lot more days. You're now tuned to airwaves of CFRE 91.9 FM. It's your man, GM Cool. And you're now tuned into Cool Radio. Welcome back to the show, people. So, like we were discussing before the commercial break, we're basically breaking down the Mike Brown situation in Ferguson, the civil unrest by the citizens, not even just the citizens, but people all over the country. And shouts to the people who were protesting in Toronto as well. They were holding a protest for the verdict, or not the verdict, but the decision to not even have a trial. So shouts to the people who went down to let their opinions be heard, and also in a peaceful manner, of course, because that's what we definitely need. Let's move on now. Let's kind of transition away from that for a bit. I want to get y'all spirits up just a little bit, just so we don't have to focus on the continuous BS that happens in today's world. Let's kind of lighten things up a little bit, right? First things up. So, Chicago MC Common, who will be performing at Cool House later on in this December, which I am hoping to get tickets for. He was being interviewed about his Nobody Smiling album, and also he was mentioned as far as giving his respect to none other than MC Malcontent, as I like to call him, Chief Keef. And this is what he said, and I quote, and I kid you not, people: I respect any artist that's doing what they do. I don't like everything. I don't like every song that comes out, but if an artist is being himself, I think Chief Keef brought something that nobody else was doing, and he brought it raw, and he brought it real. With that, I have to respect that as an artist, that he has come and brought that. Now, I'll say this. Common was somewhat politically correct with the statement, saying how he doesn't have to like everything that comes out and what have you. But I'm a little touchy on the portion of that quote that he says, I think Chief Keef brought something that nobody else was doing, and he brought it raw. I'm sorry, what? So you're trying to tell me that no one has come on the track yelling and screaming on a record, saying how they're going to kill this person and that person and how they got so much street cred? I'm sorry, but Das Effects did that back in the day. So did Onyx. Onyx were like notorious for yelling on the microphone. Even DMX probably most famous for doing that, if anything. So I don't know where Common was talking about that. If you ask me, Common was scared to get shot by Chief Keef. That's why he made the comments that he made, because he doesn't want to get shot by him. And I understand that, because he saw how Lupe Fiasco kind of got the business from Chief Keef on Twitter when he was talking about, yo, I'm going to run up on you, I'm going to shoot you, I'm going to do this and that. And so him, Common, being a fellow Chicago native, didn't want no problems from a young Chief Keef. I mean, I can't remember the last time when Common did something like this. He referred to Waka Flocka Flame as having a warrior spirit. Common, I know you're trying to play nice with everyone in the rap world and everything, but you don't have to. You can be honest. It's okay to have a negative opinion about an artist, especially if it's Chief Keef. Because I'll say it right here, right now. Chief Keef sucks balls. He sucks. And if it weren't for Kanye and Pusha T and half of the roster on Good Music jumping on his That's the Shit I Don't Like remix, he wouldn't be popping. He'd just be another hood dude trying to get on. Let's be honest. So, Common, you're lucky I didn't give you the Wankster of the Week on that one, man. You haven't gotten a Wankster so far, so please keep at it. But you were treading lightly on that one, my friend. So, watch out next time. That's all I got to say. Watch out. Next on the board, J. Cole. So, J. Cole is coming out with a new album called 2014 Forest Hill Drive, all right? It's basically a pop-up album because lately there hasn't really been any promo. We haven't heard any singles. The only thing we've gotten from J. Cole is a couple of concerts here and there, performing old material, of course. And then besides from that, he went to Ferguson to find out exactly what was happening in the community as far as the shooting went. So that's basically the only fragments we've been seeing of J. Cole up until a week ago when he put out a new trailer describing his new album, or his thoughts that were going into his new album. So anyways, I digress. He basically leaked out an image. It's basically a whole bunch of playlists that he's working on. Okay, so some of the playlists from his iTunes include a Wale playlist, a deleted scenes playlist, also a playlist that is entitled Revenge of the Dreamers 2. So a lot of people are speculating that it's another joint project with his Dream label or Dream Villains crew. Also slept on beats, so maybe ones that he either received from certain producers or ones that he's been meaning to release. But most notably, there's one that is entitled Truly Yours 4. So anyone who's familiar with the Truly Yours series, that is a series of EPs, free EPs rather, that he dropped last year before Born Sinner came out. So the first two were free, and then the third one was the deluxe disc that came with the deluxe version of Born Sinner. So we are definitely gearing up for a new Truly Yours, which will most likely come out before the album comes out, or it could be a deluxe disc if there's a deluxe version of the album that is coming out on December 9th. Now, my thing with J. Cole is I would prefer that he doesn't give out free music anymore, because as much as he has like this man of the people moniker, which I truly adore and appreciate, I feel like he needs to be taking himself more seriously as a brand so that other people will take him seriously. Yes, he knocks it out of the park when it comes to the number one albums on the charts list. He's been doing that back to back for both projects that he's put out thus far, but I feel like he needs to further establish himself as a brand. His contemporaries like Gambino's been doing that lately, but yeah, like Gambino, Kendrick Lamar, Drake, they've been doing that a lot more seriously now. So I feel like Cole needs to take the next step in his evolution and do just that, if that's the case. So am I looking forward to this album? Hell yeah, I'm looking forward to this album, because he's definitely got a lot on his mind. Judging by the trailer, this guy hasn't cut his hair in like how many years it looks like. This guy's growing out his facial hair and everything. Like, he's looking stressed right now. So we'll see what that entails. And finally, on Trip Talk, Beyonce came out with a new video called 7-Eleven, and the video basically looks like she shot it with a cell phone. It just came out of nowhere. There's no promotion for it, nothing. It was just kind of like pop-up surprise. Here you go. And the internet was just clamoring over it. Basically, it's a video of her just dancing in her pajamas and stuff like that, with a whole bunch of other people dancing in the background. And it's not a bad video. Like, it was shot pretty well. It looked like an amateur shot video, but shot pretty well nonetheless. So like a video that you could upload on YouTube or something like that. It was cool. She was being fun, goofy, silly, so I didn't really have a problem with it. The lyrics were pretty simple. I feel like this is a song that she wrote in like 5 minutes and just decided, hey, I'm going to write the song, I'm going to record it, I'm going to drop a video just because I feel like it. And hey, that's cool, fine, have your fun, do your thing. I have no problem with that. My only thing, and this isn't in regards to that video or that song in particular, but sometimes I feel like Beyonce is a tad bit overrated. Just a tad bit. Because I feel like whenever anyone else does what she does, or basically, no, not even that, but let's say the common person decides to post a video about something. No one's going to be talking about how amazing it is or how revolutionary it is if it's like something that was dropped and it's amazing. But once Beyonce does it, everybody just loses their mind. The internet shuts down. It's the rapture. People are looting. Everything is just going haywire. People are losing their minds. And even with that single that she dropped with Jay-Z last year, Drunk in Love, people were saying, oh my gosh, she was so like lyrical in that song. You know, Watermelon was just a metaphor for her, you know, doing a little something on Jay-Z. And it's just like, okay. I listen to complex rappers all the time, so this is nothing new to me. A metaphor about watermelons and male ejaculate, whoop-de-frickin'-do, you know? So I feel like people need to stop treating Beyonce like she's a goddess that is sitting on top of Mount Olympus and just recognize that she's just a normal-ass person who just so happens to be one of the greatest entertainers of our generation. I get that. She has an aura about her, but there's no reason to be clamoring and just losing your mind whenever Beyonce does the most simplest of things. If she releases a video about her curling her hair with an iron, people are going to be losing their minds. And in fact, they will probably look for a hair curling iron of that same color if need be. So I think people just need to chill out on Beyonce just a little bit. I'm not hating. I respect Beyonce for what she's done in the music industry, but just take a couple notches back, fans, please. That's all I'm saying. And with that being said, speaking of R&B, it's time for the Throwback Thursday track of the day. So let's drop that real quick. That's right, people. That's right. Hit me up on Twitter at DM_cool or cool_radio if you want your favorite throwback track played for the week that is coming along, all right? And with that being said, tonight is the final night of our November R&B edition, all right? Now, this doesn't mean that this is the last time that we're going to play R&B as a throwback track. This is just a continuation, what's the word I'm looking for? A consecutive continuation of Throwback Thursday tracks being R&B tracks for the month of November, and we're going to close it out with this one right here. We started off the month with a hip-hop and R&B collaboration. I figure it's best that we end off the month with a hip-hop and R&B collaboration, and this one just had me itching, man. I just had to listen to this one right here. This one is by way of the classic female group known as Total. This one featuring the notorious B.I.G., and it is called Can't You See? Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back, and after we come back, we will be announcing the Wankster of the Week, so keep it locked. This is Cool Radio. Yeah.
It's your man, Chris Godrock.
What's up, my family? It's Maliki and Sweet Senorita.
It's your boy, Dirty German. This is all mails from the critics. I just finished my interview at C.O.O.L Radio, and I'm just letting you guys know that you guys need to tune in every Thursday at 8 p.m. because this place is wild.
Of course! Don't touch that dial.
You miss your diss, you understand? Keep it locked.
Yes, yo. Welcome back to the show. You're now tuned into CFRE 91.9 FM. It's your man, DM Cool. You're now tuned into Cool Radio. Welcome back to the show, people. It's that time that y'all been waiting for. It's time for Wankster of the Week. So with that being said, let's drop that real quick. This week's Wankster of the Week goes to none other than the American Music Awards, all right? They're getting the Wankster this week because they decided to give the award for Best Rap Album to Iggy Azalea, all right? Now, normally people would be asking me, well, why don't you just give the award to Iggy? Because, for once, it wasn't her fault. She did not give herself that award. The AMAs did because of their stupid voting system, all right? Now, she was in contention between Eminem and Drake for that award, and they decided to give it to her. All right. Now, from what I understand, the AMA's voting system is basically based on fan voting. So, in other words, it was a popularity contest. Now, don't get me wrong, Eminem and Drake are two of the biggest names in rap ever. Okay. But to give it to a young upstart like Iggy Azalea, it just reeks of bullshit altogether, all right? Now, mind you, I haven't listened to Iggy Azalea before, so I can't really judge on her music. But my thing is this. It should never come to a fan vote when it comes to award shows, all right? Leave that to a committee. Even though within the committee, there's still a popularity contest nonetheless, there's still somewhat some sort of balance and order that goes on with these things. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes though. Cough, cough, Macklemore. But nonetheless, I feel like with as popular of names that Eminem and Drake are, it should have been given to one of those two rather than Iggy. It just boggles my mind. And I don't know if you guys remember, but last year, around this time especially as well too, actually, if I'm not mistaken, I'll go back in my notes just to verify that, but I gave the Wankster of the Week to the AMAs last year because of the fact that they decided to give Rihanna the Icon Award. And basically, I'm assuming that that's their version of a Lifetime Achievement Award, which if it is in fact so, then no artist under 40 should be winning that award regardless of who it is. I do not care if you're singing if you had a record deal since 3 years old, you should not be getting that type of award. None at all, ever. So, I have nothing else further to say about this. The AMAs, you failed as a company, as an organization, as a crew, and as some sort of conglomerate because I guarantee that you just lost a big chunk of your fan base with this egregious decision. Now, mind you, you're saying that the decision doesn't fall on you. It's the fans. They're the ones that voted. Change up the way that you select your votes because no one's going to like that. I mean, come on. I mean, yeah, I have nothing further to say. Usually I would just go in, but it's so self-explanatory at this point that I don't even need to go in. I'll let y'all be the judge of that. It's just a stupid decision overall to have fan voting in place in the first place because that's just wrong. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Iggy Azalea over those two heavyweights, like, if this is like Bobby Shmurda and Young Thug, I can completely understand. But we're talking about Eminem and Drake. Eminem is probably like the highest selling rapper of the 2000s, and Drake is probably like the new wave. He's the leader of the new school of rappers in this 2010 decade. I have nothing further to say. Does the AMAs deserve this wankster? Of course they do. So I'm going to drop it on them one more time like this. That's all I got to say about the matter, man. That's all I got to say. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Once again, if you have your opinions and views on the Mike Brown and Ferguson situation, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at DM_cool and at cool_radio. Make sure you join the fan page, Cool Radio, and make sure you subscribe to YouTube as well too, Cool_radio. And that's about it. Thank y'all for tuning in as you normally do. Coming up next on CFRA Radio, we got the Swig, and they got some good stuff to be promoting on the show, so make sure you stay in tune with that. But for now, I got to go. Keep it gravy and wavy. Your boy's out. Peace.